Let's talk top 12 wide receivers for 2024 right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Adam Aizer and Jamey Eisenberg. Yesterday we talked running backs. Let's talk receivers now. Everybody who gave you their rankings, I think there were 7 people. They all had the same top 5, with Amon-Ra St. Brown 5th. So basically the same 4, but in different orders. So what were you seeing generally in terms of those top 4 guys?
The thing that stood out to me was who's number 1. You had Jefferson. Some people had CeeDee Lamb. I know myself and Dan Schneier had Tyreek Hill. And I think that's going to be really the toughest call is really the order of those top 4 receivers. Heath Cummings, for example, had Jamar Chase ahead of both Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken, certainly ahead of Jefferson. So the way that you're going to see those guys get drafted, get ranked, how you're going to feel about them, I think is going to really determine how you feel about picking most likely 2, 3, 4, and potentially 5, because those could be the next picks after Christian McCaffrey comes off the board. So for me, it's between 3 guys. I think Jamar Chase is clearly the 4th, but if Jefferson's quarterback situation is solidified, he could easily be the number 1 guy. We've seen that. Tyreek Hill's coming off an amazing season, but he's going to be 30. So how much do you trust that? And, trust Tua Tagovailoa. And then obviously CeeDee Lamb was an absolute monster, the best non-quarterback in fantasy this year from a total point standpoint. Clearly took off in the second half of the season. Can he do it again? So there are some questions with those guys, but really so much upside. And for the most part, Jefferson got hurt. Obviously, Chase struggled with the Burrow injury, but you know what you're getting with wide receivers. They're typically safe when they are elite, and these 4 guys have the chance to be elite.
So I think a lot of people will want to know, hey, where do you have Puka Nacua? Do you have Tank Dell? Did any rookies crack the top 12? And certainly Nacua did. For some people, Tank Dell did. But where do you have those guys?
Dell is outside the top 12, and I'm honestly still struggling with who the best Texans receiver is, because you can make the case that Nico Collins is better than Tank Dell, and I don't think anybody would, have a strong argument one way or the other. They're both exceptional, but right now I do have Dell ahead of Collins, but both top 15. I do have Puka Nacua in the top 12. That's the biggest change, or the only change for me, since we've done this exercise, and you can read about it on the site in cbssports.com. All the 7 people who contributed to those rankings, you can see all of them on the site. But in any event, Puka is number 7 for me. So you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5 for everybody. For the most part, AJ Brown is relatively the majority of. He's the person that got the majority of votes for number 6, and then Puka would be number 7 for me.
Did you have a 49ers or 2 49ers wide receivers in your top 12?
I did not, and Dave Richard is the only one who did. And again, looking at what they accomplished and what they should be able to once again achieve with Brock Purdy, with a little bit maybe aging, George Kittle is going to be 31. And who knows how healthy McCaffrey stays at 28 years old. We know that's not necessarily a great age for running backs, but they were fantastic. I want to see what happens with the Aiyuk contract situation this offseason. Deebo, clearly, when he's been healthy, has been a monster, and was that, for the most part in 2023, not to the same level in 2021, but bounced back from his disappointing campaign. So for me, just outside the top 12, both 49ers, both Texans, both, considerably, both should be considered top 15 wide receivers.
Yeah, and that's what they were per game. They did not crack the top 12 per game in full PPR. In non-PPR, it's a different story. Half PPR, it's tougher, but teams that throw as little as the 49ers do, you have a tough time getting top 12 wide receivers in full PPR. Simply do not get enough catches. And then, DJ Moore, what a year he had, and he's clearly a top 12 guy now. I don't know, just what a year he had. And it's not like Justin Fields was incredible throwing the football. Any concerns about DJ Moore replicating this? He did have a very, very high catch rate for what it's worth.
Well, I think you got 2 pretty big scenarios at play here. One is who's the quarterback, because if they keep Justin Fields, that probably means they're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. And if they move on from Justin Fields, it's Caleb Williams, and will he be able to accomplish the same things with a rookie quarterback? I would hope for DJ Moore's case, you're looking at the latter, where he's still the alpha, clear-cut number 1 guy, and Caleb Williams is his quarterback, as opposed to keeping Justin Fields and bringing in, another receiver. Now, part of this could be, at least one trade rumor I saw was moving down to 2 with Washington and Terry McLaurin being part of the trade package. And that's the route that the Bears go. And they just put Justin Fields with Moore, with McLaurin, and with Marvin Harrison. And that would just be absolutely nutty and insane, but would hurt the fantasy value for some of those guys. But, they can go a lot of different ways if they make a trade. But in any event, I think for DJ Moore's situation, you like to see trade Justin Fields, draft Caleb Williams. Don't bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. and keep him as the lead guy. And then he's still a top 12 receiver.
All right. If you want a longer look at our top 24, check out the full-length episode of Fantasy Football Today, and we'll talk to you later on FFT and 5.